Just want to say the date and where we are and stuff and time and.
Yep, it's Sunday, October 28th at 5 o'clock.
Are you recording now?
Yep.
Yeah, and we're talking to Lawrence Gulbranson here at his house on Ely Lake on a different point. And the one question I had, and I'm still confused about it, where the main street of Sparta was, you know, when you see those old pictures and they show it like in 1908 and stuff, and it goes right down into Ely Lake. I was wondering where, according to what you remember, where that main street is.
There was no road there when I came there. When that railroad track came from Sparta, from the crossing, went straight across that pit. You know how it's got that bend in there now, that railroad track? You went straight across, and they mined that end out.
So they mined which be the south end of the pit first?
Yeah, they mined the Ely Lake end.
Yeah, okay.
They mined that out, and they pumped the water out of there with a tractor. They had a pump on a tractor and a power takeoff, and they ran that 24/7 into the ditch, and then they went right by Carrie's house there.
Okay, yeah.
The ditch went,
right,
and that's where it went back into the lake there.
Yeah.
And then they mined that all out there, and they put the railroad track around it, and that's where the depot was. Right there where...
yeah, to the west of there.
To the west, where the road was.
Right, yeah, okay. So was the main street on those old pictures, was that on the west side of the pit?
See, I don't recall that in the pictures either, but it was, but because everything is under the dump.
Yeah.
Everything's under the dump.
Right, so right in the rocky dumps, the old rocky dumps, that's where the road, the main road used to cut right through there.
I would say from the main road coming from Everett there, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that goes all the way to Everett, you know that.
Yeah, right, yes, yep.
And then there was a pond down there. When we were kids, there was a pond down there. It was the first one that froze over, so we used to skate down there.
So before there was the mine pit there was a pond in that area?
There was a pond down below there, yeah.
Where the pit is now. It wasn't before it was mined out.
The pit is in where the railroad track was.
Okay.
And they put that track around there, so that kind of covered where that pond went.
Yeah.
And then that rock is still there against the bank, I think, to keep it from washing down.
Oh,
I think.
yeah. Erosion.
We just sat on a railroad track there and plunked those wood trucks out there with the 32s.
So, when they were still mining that pit, when you were a kid, when did they start mining that you can remember? I'm sure they mined it before you were even can remember it, but...
It was in the 40s.
It was in the 40s when it was still in full mining mode at that time?
They were in full swing.
Yeah.
I used to go there and haul that wood that they went into those underground drifts.
Oh yeah, for shaft support.
They're full of creosote. They come in chunks like this.
Yeah. And
then they went up into a pocket, and then they vibrated down. I'm not sure if they had a vibrator on it, but I know there's a screen, and it had a pretty good angle on it, and it slid down to the ground. And they were kind of glad we picked it up, then they didn't have to move.
Oh, you know? Okay.
And I wasn't the only one. It was from Evelyn and all over the place they're hauling on it.
Yeah. So when they were taking that ore out of the pit, they were on which would be the north end, where the kids swim?
On the north end, but they were hauling it to the south end. Up that long grade.
Yeah, where the kids swim there, you know.
Yeah, that's where it's at now. There's, that long grade that goes up.
Yeah, right.
That's where they hauled up that same road.
And they hauled it to the pocket that was kind of by that settling pond there.
It can straight up. There was a berm in there.
Yeah.
And then it went up right into that pocket, yeah.
Yeah, okay. And I see they removed that pocket. You remember? I remember when we were kids, there still used to be the pocket was still there.
There was a pocket there for a long time.
Yeah, they took that
You finally took it out of
there.
there.
That, yeah, probably.
And that's where we used to get that wood from. It fell off by that pocket there.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a steep grade going up there.
Yeah.
To get out of there, And I had that old 28 Chevrolet. It had enough power to make it, but not spin the wheels. And the other guys with new pickups, they had to put a big pile on there so they couldn't get up the hill.
Yeah.
You would laugh about the way it worked for them.
So they mined out the Ely Lake end first, and then they started moving their way towards Genoa, you know, as the years went on.
Yeah, but they dug under that big where there was all that hard, slatey type of ore.
Yeah.
It's like solid rock, and they were underneath that. They were underneath that with digging under that thing.
Oh, okay.
And that thing was up there. Looked like a couple 100 feet, maybe, you know.
Oh, so they were undermining.
Undermining
And then
it,
they were supporting it.
And that was hanging above them there.
Right.
They looked like Tonka toys down there then, you know, from the top of the bank. You know?
Yeah, and that would have been on the Genoa end that you were watching over.
Genoa and Sparta where there used to be a dump. White Rock, you know White Rock.
Yeah, right, yeah.
The White Rock, then there was a dump there, and we used to have bonfires on that dump.
Okay.
And we used to carry all the heavy stuff up that thing. And right below that is where they were underneath.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Right.
And then Eddie Holden and those the Herbie boys, they you know where they had mined, they had stripped it out up way above too.
Mm-hmm.
They were skiing down there. They were skiing. They were doing about 60 miles an hour when they got down to the ice.
Oh, they'd ski down the edges of the dump?
Yeah, into that pit where they were on the Genoa end.
Yeah.
Yeah, they made a ski run there.
Oh.
Well, we never went down there. It was too fast for us guys. We were young that time.
So when you were growing up, did the miners kind of live in town then, and you know, in the old?
Yeah, they were all over. Yeah.
And they rented. Were there places to rent then back, or where did most of them live?
Sparta, just like it is now. They just drove from Gilbert or wherever.
Oh, they did. So they lived outside of the old Sparta, and they just.
The Sparta was Sparta. There was no boarding houses or anything. No.
Right, except for Nelson's wasn't Nelson's an old store? You know where Nelson's.
That was Sari's store.
Sari's store. That's what it was. Yeah.
Joshua Sari.
Was that like a mercantile or whatever? They had everything.
Grocery store like Lukanen's then.
Oh, like Lukanen's store. Okay.
And then there was a gas pump there. A gas pump, and you pumped it. You pumped that
hand?
up and in the glass thing up there.
Oh, yeah.
And it went to the line level, and then that's how many gallons you put in.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. So then, so most of the people that worked in, because my dad told me that they had a public sauna, across from Ben's. That's where he said his parents lived, and you didn't remember that.
No.
Yeah.
I don't remember a public sauna. My dad, we had our own.
Yeah. Yeah, and he says that he used to, fire it up for the miners, from the Sparta pit or Genoa. They
probably did. That was before my time.
And he said he was like 8 years, 10 years old, 12 years old. So that would have been like 1922.
Yeah, I was born in 33.
Right, so it would have been before your time. And I don't know how long the homestead.
I remember the 30s, but I don't remember that stuff wasn't there then anymore.
Right, yeah, it was all probably already tore down by then or whatever. Yeah,
it was,
So as far as you know, the main street, and I don't know.
Yeah, you couldn't tell really because it was taken out of there. And I looked at the pictures in that picture book, and I was trying to see how they would get to that road. It didn't show it in the pictures even because that was all taken out of there when you were by the railroad track, by the railroad or something.
Right, because that picture that I'm referring to, it's just a nice gradual road right down to Ely Lake. And of course the tracks weren't there at the time.
There was houses like this in the streets.
Yeah, and there's churches there, and the churches were moved, I think, to
I didn't see
Gilbert.
that. I just seen houses in there. I'm looking at the pictures now because that dump was there before my time.
Yeah.
And then that guy that was there, he named the people who owned those houses. It's in that book. If you get hold of that book, now I had it here, I know we paid $20-30 for it or something.
Yeah,
when
we
had
bought
it.
one too, and I don't
And
know
it
where it went.
was, like you said, Jarvis might have it. I was going to tell you that, but I didn't get a chance to tell you that. Nancy told you.
Yeah, he does. He probably has all that stuff. But,
Yeah.
But he's not wanting to share it right now yet. I don't know. He's going to make everything into a book, he said. So he doesn't want to really.
No,
yeah.
in fact, I'll still hunt around for it here.
Yeah.
I always got the Gilbert Herald, and when they were making that book, I had the old pictures were in the Gilbert Herald. Well, I took those and folded them up and put them in a drawer also.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And I would have sworn that they were in there.
Yeah.
I had Lenny go in there and look. He said, "Dad, there's nothing in those drawers."
Oh.
I said, "Well, who would take them?" You
Yeah.
know?
Right.
I said, "Then where the hell would I put them?" That's why I put them there, because there's no other place to put them that would be a good place.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I don't know where they went.
So when they were mining the Genoa pit, were they also mining the Schley pit in Gilbert too at the same time, or the Malta?
The one in that Gilbert pit, that Malta mine there, that was going before.
Oh, that was going before Sparta?
That was going before they did. This one was after.
Oh, really? So they
Yeah.
started in the Malta pit, would be as the crow flies.
My
over
dad
here.
was working-
It'd be the end of the Orbegon in Gilbert. Have you ever been down to Orbegon pit down there where
Yep.
the beach is?
Yep.
Well, so then this end would be the west end.
Okay.
That's what he's referring to as the Malta pit.
Okay.
So that would have started there then, and and then the Genoa pit.
They had
Yeah.
underground there. My dad was working there, and I remember seeing my dad walking home from the work there. And then I know I've seen pictures of him, but I remember him walking from there when I was a kid.
Mm-hmm.
And and like I say, I was in '33, so, and I remember the '30s, and I remember I went to first and second grade in the shirt factory.
Oh, in Gilbert
In
Shirt
Gilbert
Factory?
Shirt
Oh,
Factory.
yeah, it was a school before they converted it over.
And Miss Peter Antonio was first grade, and she was a bitch.
Yeah.
And then she's a crabby one.
Yeah.
And then there was a Miss Lynch, was a second grade teacher, and she was like a fish going.
Oh, yeah.
She did that steady. It was a habit she had, but she was a very nice person.
Yeah. So a school, okay, now where Hakenens were the blue, that's the old school from, that was up in Genoa? That school was moved there?
No,
You know, where-
I went nursery
Jack
school.
Haken
I went nursery school in that school.
Oh, you did?
Yeah,
And it was there at the time?
yeah.
Right here where it is now?
Oh yeah, I was schooler. Right?
But it wasn't moved from anywhere else? That's where it was built?
there.
Oh, okay.
Jack Haken's basement is part of that school.
Okay, yeah, right, yeah.
And we even had, when we were skating rink kids, one year they had us go up those back stairs, and that's 2 stories high. And there was a big room up there and one stove in the middle, and that was our warming shack.
Okay,
So you
yeah.
think we had to walk down those stairs, skates on,
Yeah.
and then icy trail down into the...
Was the skating rink in the same spot then?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then they put a shack where that shack is now.
Yeah, I remember the old shack. I
And that
even
one
was
burnt.
in there.
That one burnt there, and then they built another.
That tin one, yeah, right, yeah. Oh, I didn't know that you went to school there.
Old man Haiti and old man Loco, those guys were taking care of the shack those years.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I didn't. That's something that I didn't know, that you went to school in that
Yeah,
school.
I was nursery schooler. Yeah, I
Yeah.
remember that too.
Hmm.
And my mother had pictures of her going to school there.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, so that was there for a long
And
time.
she was just a little girl that high when she
Yeah.
went there.
Wow.
She came
Yeah.
from Finland when she was 5 years old. Her dad came up here to work in the mines like all these. That's why there's so many nationalities around here.
Mm-hmm.
They call them from different countries to come here and work. And then when he was working here, then he built a house right next to Perkio's there.
Yeah.
Up from Perkio's, right at this piece, that little lot up there where Bert cut there.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
He had a house there, and that house burnt when they were here.
Okay.
And then he built it where that house is now up there yet.
Yeah.
No.
How many schools were in town when you were a kid?
Pardon me?
How many other schools were there in town when you were a kid?
That was just that one big school. It was big too.
Was it high school? Was all grades were in there, or just? Or just elementary?
I don't recall how many grades was in there. I don't remember. But well, see, Sparta was there before Gilbert.
Right. Yeah.
You know, Gilbert came. People from Sparta went to Gilbert.
Yeah.
And I don't know how many grades it was, but that was about 3 stories high.
Yeah.
No, it was a big building.
Yeah, it is. It's, you know, especially back then when it was.
Do you remember those call posts that were on the sidewalk?
No.
They used to have posts staggered, so calls couldn't go in the schoolyard.
Oh, is that why?
They had it at the church right in Gilbert too.
Okay.
Oh yeah, when I was going to school in Gilbert, they had the farmers, the old guys down the line there. They bring their cows up by the Gilbert Cemetery for their pasture, and then they'd go get them a milking time, walk right down the Summit Street, and then when they got done milking them, they walked them back up again.
Really? Wow. And that was in the 30s then.
No, when I was in school in the
early 40s.
40s for
Yeah.
sure.
Huh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I remember the 40s well. I remember the 40s well.
So when they were mining, you said they took cars that came out of the pit by your place too? What'd you call them, jump cars or something? Or little locomotives that would haul the
Oh yeah, they call them ping pongs.
ping pongs?
They were just small locomotives, and they bring the cars in up there, and then I don't recall what they pulled them in to load them to the pocket, you know. And the pocket was down into the mine, way down in the mine in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
That's where the pocket was.
So then they'd load them up there, and then
the railroad grade was suspended about 8-10 feet above that water.
Oh yeah. So there was water in there all the time. They didn't.
Oh, there was water
They
on
couldn't
both
keep
sides.
it going. They couldn't keep
both
it
sides.
empty.
Yeah.
Really? Oh.
Yeah, but then they were in the underground mines, you know.
Mm-hmm. I remember when the water was low when we were kids. You could see the shafts yet, where they would, shaft into the hills and follow the veins of iron ore, whatever.
That's how it went there, and then
So what did they use that settling pond for? Where the settling pond is, on to the west side of the Genoa pit. You've been up to that settling pond.
Oh,
What did they use that
That
for?
was when they mined it in the 40s. That's where they held that surface up there.
But it was a big, area.
Yeah, there was a big pond up
Did
there.
did they pump the water into there and it settle out, or
I
what?
don't recall what they used that for.
But they made that big berm around it, to contain it.
And then there was pipes all over up there in that woods.
Yeah,
All
right.
those trails there that are half open yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are full of water pipes.
So I wonder if they just pumped the water into there and it settled out,
Yeah.
to get rid of it. I don't know why the settling pond was there though.
And then when they removed those pipes out of there, Chicken Hawk and I, we were down the boat and we stayed in a bunch of minnows and put them in 5-gallon cans. We drove up there. I had a 35 Dodge that time, and they drove right up to the edge of that pit. Remember, there's that one pit that's got that little bit of in the ground there between the Burns mine and the Genoa mine.
Yeah. Yeah, that little slice.
We were on top there. We threw them from way on top the bank,
Mhm.
and they just floated down on those bubbles.
Yeah.
And we planted fish in there from Ely Lake.
Right.
So there's got to be some big fish in there.
Yeah, and the Burns mine too. And then there's that little one that.
Yeah, that little one in between.
Yeah, in between, that's just a sliver of it. There must have been just a high grade ore there that's probably. It's not very long, maybe not even 100 yards long, I don't think it is.
It
And they
makes
just
you wonder
cut a
why they did
sliver
that.
out of that. They mined that one little
It makes
area.
you wonder why they did that.
Yeah.
But that dumper you say where that hole is, that's where they hauled the material from the railroad track there.
Yeah.
They hauled it up there.
To the settling pond up there. Yeah. It's because, I understand settling ponds now with the taconite tailings, but back then it was all, natural ore, so that's why I couldn't understand why they had a settling pond back then. But
Yeah, and But the mountain mine quit then, back in the I would say the 30s, I think. They
It
shut
was the
that
end
down.
of the 30s. That
Yeah,
was
they
shut
had
down?
mules. They had mules underground. My dad was telling me, he said the mules would haul the ore out to the surface, and he says the whistle would blow for lunchtime, the mules would stop and sit down.
Oh, is that right?
And then they'd blow again to get up. Where lunch was over, they'd get up and start running again.
Yeah.
The mules, they were so doing it so much, they just trained them, and they did their own thing.
Mhm, sure, yeah.
Yeah, my dad was telling me about that. He said they'd sit down and take a half hour off, and then they'd go again.
Mm-hmm. And you were telling me your dad had was drafted into World War I, but the war ended before he got...
He was. My dad was born in 1899, and he was drafted into World War I, and then the war was over 2 weeks before he had to go in, and then they notified him he didn't have to go in. No. But his brothers, he had older brothers that were in the war, in the First World War.
Yeah. So he came from where? He came from Norway?
No, my dad was born in Oslo, Minnesota.
Oh, so he didn't?
He was,
Okay.
yeah,
Oh,
about 30 miles north of Grand Forks.
Oh, okay.
That's his homestead over there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's where they had a farm there. There was 9 boys and 2 girls in that family.
Mm-hmm.
They had their own baseball team. I got the catchers back here and the mask and 1 baseball glove in my shed
Oh, yeah.
from their team.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah.
So when the mine was active and your house was close, did they do a lot of blasting that you could feel then, or was everything just... they didn't do much blasting back then, did they? It was all soft ore?
I don't remember
They didn't
the
have
blasting.
to blast,
I don't
yeah.
remember the blasting.
Yeah, they probably didn't. It was probably all soft,
I think
where they could dig
because
it.
they were digging into the mine drifts.
Yeah, right.
Just like when I went to work in 1952, I went to work in the government mine for Peter Kiewitz.
Mm-hmm.
And I was working on a railroad, and then I heard they needed an oiler on a 120 beside CRE shovel, and then so I went over there and happened to be there. Bill Ollinger was the superintendent, and he happened to be right there where the drive where the guy changed clothes and stuff. And he said, "Can I help you?" I said, "Yeah, I heard you need an oiler." He said, "Yeah, I do. You want the job?" I said, "Yeah." He just come this afternoon at a certain time. He says, "Drive on this road, make a left on the bottom. You get to that 120 down there. Sandy Sandstead is the operator, and he says you'll be the oiler for him."
Mm-hmm. So then the Genoa mine was already down at that time when you went to work at the Schley mine.
That was all down. And
right.
we were digging into mine drifts in Gilbert, and the railroad, picking up those rails all twisted up in there, And I was pulling them out of the bank and throwing them in the pile.
Oh, so they had the old railroad that came from it that went into there that you were uncovering it and
like heading for
going,
Sparta.
digging it out. Yeah, I see.
And then sometimes we hit the drift, and I'd go down with a flashlight. I'd lay on the ground there looking. You could put a couple of 3 of these hoses in there.
Oh yeah, they would be all
So big
caverns
and
where
high.
they mined out where the
Yeah, it
shafts.
was all mined out there, and you had wheelbarrows and shovels, and right where I was peeking, when I was looking down, there was a ladder way straight up and down, where they'd go into the next level up,
Mm-hmm.
And you could see it was interesting, very interesting.
Right, yeah.
And it was darker than hell, but with the good flashlight, you could see pretty good down there.
Yeah.
And it was interesting. Then we went out getting those trips, and then they pull those rails out there. They're getting stuck in the pocket, and then they jam it up. And I was pulling them out, and then I asked Peck, the foreman, I says, "Can I take somebody's home for scrap iron?" He says, "No, the company does that." So then I quit pulling them out of the bank.
Oh, yeah.
Because I was getting pretty dirty pulling all them ore things out of the bank. I got pretty damn ore dirty, But so then I figured, heck, I'm not going to get dirty pulling out for them.
So in that, in that field behind your house there was, called the White Rock or whatever. There's buildings. What was there? Because all the footings were there.
I don't know. I don't know what that was.
Must have been a mining building of some type.
It had to be something like
an
that,
office or something.
That's the way I assume too.
Because I know my dad told me, and there's records in our, where I showed you where our homestead was. There was an old Thai garage there.
Okay.
And my dad said that, and there's some old records of, they used to take time cards there. That was kind of the office for the Genoa pit too. And, they sat there and recorded time cards and stuff. So it was kind of an office, that old garage that we ended up tearing down.
Okay.
So whoever was, so there must have been other buildings around there.
Yeah,
because that was a Thai office.
There was none in my time. No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, no, this was before when Pete, my uncle, bought that, house originally, where we grew up.
My dad's house was way back in that field behind Uncle Nemi's barn. Way up in that field.
Yeah.
My dad's house was there. Then he
moved it.
moved it there
away from the pit.
Yeah, with those cable hoists.
Oh, he just skidded it.
He put a dead man in the ground, like a post in the ground,
right.
And then he pulled it on rails.
So he was getting it away from the edge of the pit.
Yeah, he pulled it more there, and then he had to go across the ditch with it too, and then he put it right there where it was located.
Right. Yeah.
Then we dug that basement out. They put a rock basement on there. Right underneath the porch, there was a dead mule.
Oh, okay.
Somebody buried a mule right there.
Yeah.
So whenever that was,
Right.
but we had the whole thing. All the bones were right there.
Yeah. Do you remember when they used to cut ice in Ely Lake?
Oh yeah,
ice chest?
That was with my dad. Yeah.
Yeah, because my dad used to haul out of there too. He used to haul for old man Lukanen at the time.
Well, there was another ice house down there where Rudy Waddle lives.
Yeah, there could have been one on that side.
There was right there, right next to between Rudy's house and the swimming beach.
Yeah.
And then there was one where John Kish's house was.
Okay, down on the end
And
there.
I was in high school working weekends. And I filled that one in by where John Kish was. We filled that one up.
Mm-hmm.
And then where Butter lives down here,
Yeah.
they had a railroad track going down there. And
Right.
that's what that guy know. He just put a house down there.
Yeah. Okay.
And that was a railroad grade.
Okay.
That was it where we run those cars.
Right by Tom Jacobson's right there?
No.
Towards Butters? Towards Butters.
Oh,
that side. Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's that guy put his house on that railroad grade.
Yeah.
See, then they were up towards the main line up there, and then we dropped the cars, so and we filled those railroad cars with ice.
Okay, yeah.
And then that was the refrigerated cars. We filled the whole thing up, and then they had an ice house wherever they had their ice house, and they hauled it away. And then they would put those ice on the end of the refrigerated cars, and then all the produce or whatever was in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
Keep it cold when they were hauling it.
So they would ship that ice all over then, and not just this area.
We did that when we were in high school. We did it for about 10th, 11th, and 12th grade.
Yeah.
600-pound cakes.
Mm-hmm.
That was you hit with a pickeroni and spin them into place.
Yeah.
Sometimes they throw you against the wall, but
right.
most of the time we were stronger, had better traction than they did.
Yeah. Yeah, I know my dad said he used to haul ice to people upstairs and stuff on his back, and he said he was only like 120, 30 pounds, and he put I don't know how big the cakes were, but he says they were heavy.
They were like this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I went with my uncles on their run. Tuggy and Al, both, Tuggy Corpy and Al, they had two ice trucks.
Mm-hmm.
And my grandfather's there on the road across from Bert's driveway. That's where they wash the sawdust off the ice.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And they deliver to houses and bars.
Yeah. Right.
And then when I was, I remember we never got a regular paycheck. We just asked him for some money, and he had $10 or $20, mm-hmm. and he'd get it. That's the way we got paid.
Yeah.
And then I had $300 coming on the end, and it was Mother's Day. I gave my mother that $300 check. I said, "Go buy a refrigerator."
Yeah.
Yeah, and then at the bunker of ice anymore, we had ice box.
Right. Yeah. 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 There was. Then that store that Bobo has there, on the corner here. 97 Bobo has a store next to Terrell's.
Over there, Bobo was that first driveway.
Yeah. Where did that store come from?
That was over there between Colonel's and that big railroad building, right straight across from where you come out of that tunnel from the Burns mine.
Okay.
I mean from the Genome Malta mine.
Okay. So that was that a gas station or something or what? And it was moved.
Oh, right where it is now.
Yeah.
Yeah, where it is now. Vic was selling gas there.
Oh, okay.
And then he was selling. He had a 3-2 bar in there too.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
But they had it when it was over. The guys come back from the war, and there was that shack was there. By Colonel's there by the highway
on the
by
corner there.
37.
Yeah. Right.
And they hung around in that shack for a couple of years. I think they kind of the guys. I think when they come out of the war, they had that what they call that stuff they get from the war.
PS.
They kind of took care of each other. I think there.
They're right.
The
They
PTSD.
were PTSD.
Yeah, I think they took care of each other
Right,
there,
yeah.
and then of course they drank a lot of beer.
Oh, sure.
And then Carl Beck had a parlor car. He had a railroad car. Carl Beck was his name. He bought the railroad car and he was living in it. And he was on the main run that was coming out of the Malta mine.
Mm-hmm.
And right by the highway it was.
Yeah.
And then and because I remember on the door it said parlor car. And then he took the seats loose and he put the seats just on the edges, so you could walk around the middle and you could sit any place. And he used to make us a batch of donuts every weekend for all us kids.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was a cook. He was a cook on the houseboats.
Oh, okay.
Up on Ely Lake and down the Vermilion there.
Oh,
stuff
really?
Too.
Yeah.
He was a cook on those. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what he did. That's all he did. And then he had to move it from there. So he had someone cut it in half. Cut the car in half. And he hauled it behind that building where
Bobo is?
Yeah, where that building is now.
Yeah.
Right on the back side of that, and he had them side by side there. And then Vic was drinking pretty heavy, and he was getting pretty mean. So then Carl just had to move it from there, get it to where Butsy lived there,
Yeah, where Butsy has it now.
That's a part of the car. That house is a part of the car.
Right. Let's see. It'd be 1, 2, 3, 4 houses down from you on the left. That's where he's talking that car. He ended up cutting that railroad car and making it into a house. Right next to Ryan Gulbranson's, where he's had all the trouble. The next house down on that same side is where he's talking about. That's a railroad car converted into a house. Yeah.
Wow.
Cut in half. It was rods and everything in the walls like this, bolted together so that thing wouldn't fall apart. All hardwood.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then he made it. Then Butsy didn't have Butsy their house. They dilapidated it there, and Butsy lived with Carl then.
Oh.
Then Butsy got married, and then Carl was living with them when he was married even and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then Carl got cancer, and then he was pretty much in the hospital. And then Butsy bought the house from Carl. Had some relatives someplace, and they got hold of them, and they sold the house to Butsy.
Mm-hmm.
And then he fixed it up into a regular house.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, but yeah, it was. That's where that came from. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then Lukanen's store, that was there as long as you remember, because old man Lukanen had it before.
Well, yeah. See, Tuggy was there, and then he got drafted.
Yeah.
He had to go in the army, and then when he came back out, old man Lukanen had it then.
Mm-hmm.
And then when Tuggy come out, then he took over the store.
Right. Yeah.
And Sari's store closed up because old man Joshua Sari died in the early 40s.
Mm-hmm.
He was not that old either, but he had a lot of kids. He had quite a family already.
And they owned a lot of land here. They owned that whole shoreline, didn't they? Sorry.
He owned. Well, he owned
that side of the lake right there.
Next door to me, where John Nemi used to live.
Yeah.
He owned that sliver there because Kivas's dad had a bill at the Sparta store, so he had that sliver plotted out, and he gave it to Joshua for the bill he owed.
Mm.
And then he sold it to John Nemi, and John Nemi put the house on there. He moved out of Genoa, and that house is from Genoa.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
That next door to mine there.
Yeah.
There's no this one right there. That house that's by the side of my driveway.
Yeah. Okay. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and this room and that room kitchen were built in 1908.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I didn't know that, but a woman from Atlanta told me. She was trying to sell me windows. She said the house was built in 1908.
How did she know that?
I said, yeah. She said, how do you know? She said, it's on the computer.
Probably looked it up on Zillow.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and then,
Really? Okay.
then she, I said, well, that's my kitchen and my living room, because that's made out of rough lumber, these two.
Mm-hmm.
That's why this room measures 13 by 13. Because they use rough lumber, not even sizes like they do all over now, you know,
Yeah.
12 and, 8 and 12, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I put these, when I put this false ceiling in, it was all plaster up there. That's why I had to put this false beam in there, and then a 1/6 inch on each end to make it 12 by 12 on the walls.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And then, and I told her, I said, I know there was a double window right there, and because that was outside right there, I built that porch on there to make it square up the rectangular shape so I could build that upstairs.
Mm-hmm.
But anyways, there was a newspaper on the wall,
Oh, okay.
and it was a 1926 newspaper with some hay.
Oh, yeah, that was the insulation back then.
Yeah. Yeah, there was a 1926 newspaper there. My dad was with me here when I was taking that out, and he says, and it said about a woman in there that got her hair caught in a wringer on a wash machine.
Yeah.
And when they run with a gas motor, And my dad says, I remember when that happened.
Really?
Yeah, and it happened in Oslo, Minnesota, where he's from.
Huh.
Yeah, and he said, I
Wow.
remember when that happened, he said, in 1926. Yeah, it was funny about that, but
Mm-hmm.
I had that newspaper for the longest time around here, but whatever happened to it,
Yeah.
because I've been here since 1961, is that 56 years, I think it is now. August 15th was 56 years, I think I've been in this house.
Yeah.
Yeah, them Sparta guys, they said, "Oh, you paid too much for that house." I said, "Well, maybe I did, maybe I didn't." I says, "But I'm not going to have to hug the stove to put my clothes on anyway. It's got a furnace in the basement. All the rooms will be warm."
Yeah.
You know what I paid for this house?
Nope.
I never told you that.
No, you didn't. No.
$8,500.
Oh, is that right? Yeah.
When there's 3 acres of land here, about 3 acres or so.
Yeah.
No. So they said I paid too much.
Yeah.
Maybe back then, but not now.
No, that's for sure.
Yeah.
No.
Oh yeah, and then the taxes like $20, you know. Boy, when you got in, the taxes are coming down now.
I know, that's what we're trying to do, is to get them down.
Nice
We
Scalper
did a little
says
bit.
he's not going to be able to vote no taxes. He can't do anything.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he was pretty cocky.
Oh, yeah, he didn't know anything. He didn't know
No, he
anything.
had no business in there
No.
anyways because he's going to move to Mirror Lake.
Yeah, right, yeah.
And his mother lives there now, and when she goes now, and she has dementia, so she's not doing, nobody's taking care of her at her house.
We're talking about the house that I was telling you with the fee owner zone.
Mm-hmm.
Those few that were there on that corner, that's who we're talking about, the guy that...
They own the land there,
Live
they
there.
own their land. Ted Hickenins and
Yep. and Niska's old place and Jono's grandparents and his house are fee owners.
That's all fee owners.
And Haken is the old schoolhouse is on fee owners.
Yeah, and the skating rink.
And Chicken Hawk's old house down there is on fee owners. Yeah.
Oh, no, not Letpolas.
The one that was right next to the old community center.
Yeah, the one below. That's Letpolas. That's not. That's their own.
I thought that was fee owners.
Well, that's what they told me, anyways.
Oh, yeah.
Because they had the granddaughter owned that place now.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I talked to Steve yesterday about all the pictures and stuff on Old Sparta, but like I said, he's going to make a book on it, so he doesn't want to share the pictures yet. And I'm not quite sure why.
Yeah, I'll check around here, but the only thing I can think of is that we got a lot of pictures on the stairway up here.
Yeah.
You know, got a ledge on the stairway, and that's where, when my son died, my sons, and they went through the pictures of my son that died. They went through the picture albums and stuff, and they put it up at his funeral so people would see from when he grew up.
Mm-hmm.
And his wife won't give him back.
No.
She won't give him back, so she has to give him back. In fact, I told my sons already, I said, maybe I have to take her to court, but I say I can't do stairs anymore either, you know. I said maybe I could have me take her to court to get that. She got 2 of my guns too, and she got one of Lenny's guns, but it'll cost him money because with my boys when they wanted to borrow money when they got divorced and stuff, I said give them collateral, then there's no fighting. And that's what they did, you know, give them a gun or something, and they can't get it back until the day. You got them telephones, you hit the wrong button, and they, you know. Yeah, they're out sighting their guns, they're checking their guns out.
Oh.
They're for deer hunting next weekend.
Yeah.
Those two, I had not hunting. I didn't hunt last year. I went in the hospital the first day. And you can't walk in the grass, you know, with a cane or with a walker. You can't walk in grass with that, with tall grass with that one. And I got it special. I got it so I can carry my weight with my elbows. That's why this is an old style walker. I got a brand new one. I got a brand new one there. I got one with 4 wheels on in there, and I got all kinds of walkers around here. But this is the one I always use because I can take the weight off my knees and they don't hurt so much. And if the knee snaps, if I don't catch my weight, I'll go all the way down.
Yeah.
So I catch them right in that bone right here. You know. But but that's pretty much basically what went on in my time, I guess.
Yeah, it was still active, and you think that was in the 40s when they shut down Sparta, or was it like in the around the war time? Was it around wartime when they shut the mine down?
Sparta was Sparta the way you seen it when I got there.
Yeah, well, when they quit mining the pit, Genoa pit, that was around the war, were they still mining it during World War II?
It was in the 40s. It was in the 40s, but it might have been right after the 40s.
Yeah, because let's see, the war ended when you were probably 12 years old or something.
Well, it ended in 46.
Yeah, and you were like 12, weren't you?
Yeah, I was born in 33, so that was
right. Yeah.
And then
they were still mining it
I
there?
was one of those kids that listened to the 10 o'clock news all the time.
Yeah.
On the radio, you know. And then when I went to service in the Navy, I was on Iwo Jima and Okinawa. And a lot of it came back of what I remember off the radio.
Oh, when you were in the Navy after the war, yeah.
Yeah, I was in the Navy, and I went in the Navy in 55.
Yeah.
And I asked for the Army, I got the Navy.
And you saw all the old places.
Well, yeah, I went to those war zones. We hauled Marines into those war zones.
Yeah.
And just practicing.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
You know, they just practicing unloading their equipment. They didn't go no
Right.
shoot them up, bang, bang, you know.
Yeah.
They just learned how to unload their vehicles off of the ship.
Mm-hmm.
And we had, the three of us had to go sit on the shore off the ship there. I don't know for what reason, but they told us to go sit on a bank, and Sirabachi was right to the right of us there, and I could see the flag and the monument up there.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And I could see that where the drifts go into the, they had some kind of banks up like this, and we could see where they went into the
Caves. Yeah.
into the ground, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it did. I heard what as many miles they had down underground.
Yeah, I read a book on that. Yeah, they had.
Yeah, but I don't remember. But there's many miles, and then when I was there, yet the brush was only this high.
Mm-hmm.
But then those movies, you see the brushes already way up there, and then what's his name? That actor?
Clint Eastwood.
Huh?
Clint Eastwood made
Eastwood.
a picture
He did the Japanese
Right.
side of it,
Yeah.
and then the brush was way up there,
Mm-hmm.
and he did the Japanese side of the war, and so yeah, I saw that a couple of times too. So I recognized it, but it was brushy.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember him saying, "Get off the beach, get off the beach. You're dead on the beach," because they had their mortars all set. That all their mortar landed on the beach, and then the shrapnel killed everybody that got off the ship. And you're hiding behind that bank. Well, that's where the shrapnel was hitting. You had to get over that bank, and then they were shooting at them, but they were better off on that side. And the shrapnel would get them for sure on the lake side.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was, and that bank was pretty high. That bank was about as high as the ceiling here.
Mm-hmm.
That volcano stuff was just like taconite tailings.
Sure. Yeah. Rough.
No,
Yeah.
no. And it didn't pack like taconite tailings, though. It was loose,
Mm-hmm.
loose. And then they had machines. They had their roads on top of some of them open vehicles and a big rail on them, and they pulled it down and they drove them with the front end. That would peel it off the roof on the ground, and then they wouldn't get stuck.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And then the next one behind them would go, and then they got to the next part, and then they made roads to get out of there,
Mm-hmm.
off the ship. Yeah, and then I remember then it was it got dark on us, and we were unloading yet, and the tide was a 40-foot tide. You couldn't see any water. And it was just mud. It was inside of a harbor kind of thing. And when that white tide come in, it comes in rough. And they picked that ship up and pulled it away from the shore, and they drove off the ship right in. The guys bailed out of there, sitting on the roof of the trucks because they were under the water.
Oh, yeah.
But it was dark. They didn't know.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they thought there would be water, but they didn't think it was so deep. Oh, it was deep. And then they called for the underway watch, but we were on shore, so we couldn't take our positions. But anyway, then they got underway watch, and then they got it back on the shore again, and then they held it there. And that was the time too, in the stern anchor. They dropped the stern anchor too soon. They ran out of cable. So then they had to tie a rope on that, and then they had when they had that, they had to wheel that rope in to get that big cable. It was a big cable.
Mm-hmm.
And that was all done in the dark.
Yeah.
But we were on the shore. We couldn't do anything. We were on the shore.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I was in a typhoon too over there. That one I almost went overboard.
Oh, you were on the ship during the typhoon?
Yeah, I was walking from midships to the bow. I was on the deck porch that time when we were overseas. And I was going to the bow lookout, and I stumbled on a chain. And I was heading right over the side, and my arms caught the cable on the fence. Oh, here and here.
Mm-hmm.
She kept me from going over the side.
Yeah.
Yeah, and because the ship had dragged anchor clean across that bay. we were behind the mountain, one of them big high hills. They're not really high, the mountain exactly, but they call them mountains, you know.
Yeah.
But they're, and the wind was so strong, they dragged us across there, dragging anchor. But boy, you know, another nice thing, one of the nicest things I've ever seen was we were out far enough away, and we could see that. What's that big mountain in Japan? What takes the name of that big mountain?
Geez, I don't know.
We could see it. You could see it, and it was like it was right there. It took us 3 days to get to it.
Oh, is that right? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I think it was Sarabachi that was the one on what's it called? What
Yojima,
yeah, and perfect. You could see it perfect against the sky.
Mm-hmm.
And the snow around the top like this.
Yeah.
What a nice picture. What a nice picture. I mean, it was really something to see. It was really worth being there for something like that.
Yeah.
That's the only time I've seen it, too. That's the only time I've seen that mountain.
Mm-hmm.
It was always fogged up or something, you know.
Yeah.
But, yeah, it was 3 or 4 days before we got to Japan. That's how high it was. That's how high up in the air it is.
Yeah.
And when you're on a ship there, when you're on a ship, the conning tower it's probably about 30, 40 feet above the water. And you could see, and I looked on the radar, and I saw a ship. I see the stack smoking over there, and I look, and it started to show 10 miles. You couldn't see the ship, but you see the stack.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So that kind of give you some idea
Of the roundness.
of the curvature of the earth. You know?
Sure.
And that was another interesting thing.
Yeah.
And then you think about that, and I went to see then I could see that mountain up there, and I go, holy mackerel, you know, that's like you see 10 miles there, and then take how many days? We could only go 14 knots. It's 1.25 miles to a knot. That was full speed with that LSD out there. So, they go pretty much flank speed, you know, full speed. And it took that long to get there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mount Fuji?
That could be. Yeah, that sounds familiar. I don't know that. Yeah. But that does sound
Fuji, I
familiar.
think it's Fuji.
Yeah, Mount Fuji could be, yeah.
Yeah,
I've heard that before.
Yeah, I think so.
Mm-hmm.
And beautiful mountain. I mean, it was so perfect
Yeah.
up against the skyline.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was really interesting. Yeah.
So when you went behind Old Sparta there, remember, I know on the tracks there now it says Sparta Junction, you know, and that's, I don't know if they changed the track over at the time or whatever, and there was a building there, you know, just to the west of, you know, if you come up the road and go to where the kids go swimming yet, and then you go to the left on the tracks, and then you go down about a 1/4 mile, and there was that Sparta Junction right there. Was that just a recent Sparta Junction where they
You mean going
going towards Eveleth, you know, on the track? If you're going towards Eveleth, if you're at the end of Genoa Pit,
yeah.
you know, you're on the Ely Lake end of Genoa Pit,
Yeah.
then you're heading towards Eveleth, and then about a 1/4 mile down there was Sparta Junction right there.
Well, there was houses there.
Well, there was houses there
houses
too.
there.
Yeah.
It was Hank Erasmus by the railroad track. Ted Gulbranson, my uncle, was there. Next one, right behind him in the woods was a guy by the name of Pete Yashinsky. And then next one house was Slaughter, which is Gary Jacobson's mother's folks.
So there was houses there even
And then-
when the mine was active. There
and
was
then, yeah.
still houses on that
And
west
then
side.
it was Oscar Anderson's house.
Yeah.
And then that big building that he had by McKinley, there by the railroad track, that was sitting up there by itself, a little further up there. That was the depot agent's house, Ole Erickson. And then they moved that house to McKinley.
Oh.
It was a big 3-story house, big. It's out in Hutter yet.
Mm-hmm.
But they moved it there. They moved it across the railroad track, right across to the depot in McKinley, and that's where Ole lived there. Then and he raised his family there. And then they had to move out of here, so he bought land on that road that used to come from Gilbert. Right? There used to be a road coming from Gilbert there, by Naughty Pine.
Yeah.
There used to be a road that went to Hutter from there.
Okay.
So when you come on 20, and we're Elk living there, and then
Right.
you go straight, then it turns to McKinley, then but you keep going straight,
Mm-hmm.
you go right up to where the bridge is.
Okay. Yeah.
You down
Remember that
below where
road,
the bridge is, the bridge cuts
Yeah.
it off.
Right.
Okay, that was the road that went to Gilbert,
Yeah.
and that's what it was. It was a carload of kids got killed in there.
Mm-hmm.
It was from Aurora. The only one that didn't die was the driver. And they hit that driveway, and it spiraled the car and it landed on his roof. And that's what killed the kids. And there was no seatbelts either those years, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And then they cut that road off and mined it out. And that's right where their bridge is now too. There's that mine is right there. There's that one mine there, you know.
Yeah. So you're saying when they were mining the Genoa pit, they were still living on the west side of the pit there for a while
Yeah.
before they moved those houses out.
Yeah.
Okay. So they kind of split Sparta down the center.
Yeah.
And they let them live there for a while until
that was called Old Sparta.
Old Sparta, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, they split it down the middle then.
Yeah, and those were the houses that were there, though. I mentioned the name of the people that were there.
Yeah, so those houses were by that loading pocket then for a while. There were still houses by the loading pocket?
They were far enough away from the road, though.
Yeah, so they weren't near the loading pocket.
There was a couple houses maybe that were moved out of there.
Yeah.
Well, as far back, I remember, I drove, I delivered milk there when we had a couple of cows, and I was 12 years old when I started driving.
Mm-hmm.
I drove a 28 Chevrolet. And my dad sent me, I'd have to go deliver the milk. And but I just, it's an old, slow road anyway, so I get it in second gear and I left it there. And then you go uphill and then you're downhill, you have to use the brakes. You let the transmission take care of it. And the speed, and anyways, and then I delivered milk and then turn around and go back home again.
Oh, so you delivered to the west side of the pit?
Yeah, I went to Old Sparta. I delivered milk to Old Sparta.
Oh, I didn't realize that existed. I thought
there was that shortcut road.
Right away,
Shortcut road that goes right on the edge of the pit there.
Mm.
When did they take those houses out?
Huh?
When did they take those houses out?
Oh, good question.
So when you quit delivering milk there,
Hank's house, they just tore down. And my uncle's house, they tore down. Peter Hinsky's, they tore down. The only one I think they moved was the railroad house. The one that they used for the depot agent.
So were you still delivering milk there when they moved them out, or were you older by then?
No, because then we kind of we had two cows, and then somebody poisoned one, so we only had one anymore left.
Yeah.
And then
so those houses were still there though when you were in high school then?
Yeah, well, I was 12 and they were still there. Yeah, I would say, in high school yet, yeah.
So by the 50s they were gone?
Huh?
They were gone by the 50s?
Yeah, they were right there, the road that's there now.
Yeah.
They were just off the road, to away from the pit.
Right, there's still some foundations in that field there.
Yeah.
That's
I haven't
what
been
I'll
up
have
that
to
road
show
for a
you.
long time now.
Right, yeah. I've been a few years back, but I know where those foundations are there on that left side, yeah.
That's what I said. That's what I told you, the names of the houses that were there.
Mm-hmm.
The closest one to the road was Slaughter. They were right next to the road.
Yeah, and that's where I thought the old Sparta Main Street was. Right there on that.
That's what I'm trying to think of. I could never see on the pictures. I didn't see it.
Yeah, it's just hard to tell on that one picture that shows that main drag. where
they
it
tore
is.
the road out of there between their road and the Sparta road. And where those houses were covered up with the dump.
Yeah, right.
And there was
So where the dump is now, Rocky Dumps, was there ever houses right in that area that they moved out? That you know of?
I never seen houses there. No.
Oh, there was never
There was
houses
no
there.
houses there. No, there was just that dump there.
Yeah, okay.
And then they had that pond down there, and we used to that was the first place that froze over, and that's where we skated.
Yeah, right.
And then, that's all it was. And then when they moved that track, then they filled that all in.
Right, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Because they wanted to get that one corner out. And like you said, you asked before if that's where they drove down there, you know?
Yeah, by my place
Yeah,
there.
yeah, but it drops off.
Yeah, it does. It's like
Yeah, we had our bare beach there.
a what?
Yeah, we had a bare beach there. We had a diving board and everything in there.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, we hauled it from the multi-mine.
Mm-hmm.
We got it out of that building, big nice plank. It was a pretty good plank, and it was pretty heavy too. And we put it on 2 bicycles on the handlebars.
Mm-hmm.
And we pushed those bicycles all the way over there, and we put it for a diving board.
But that was after they had mined that area out then, or what?
Yeah, because there was no water there then, see?
Oh, okay. No, yeah,
Yeah,
enough
but
to
it was after.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then we had a rock. There was one rock here that we had the one leg on, and then we dug it into the ground, and then we rolled another rock on top of that.
Okay.
And we could use a jump on that board without it slapping us in the butt, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's funny how if you folks that told you how to move that plank from there, you'd cry like hell.
Right. So do you remember anything about the Burns mine then? When did they? When was that?
I was working on a railroad in '52 when they were working the Burns mine.
Oh, that's when they were working at that in the 50s? Yeah.
Yeah, they were working at that, and it was Skubik brothers.
Okay.
Bruce Skubik's dad and his uncle.
Mm-hmm.
They were running that Burns mine. They were mining contractors.
Okay. So it was just a small operation then?
Yeah, small operation, yeah.
That's a pretty good sized pit though, you know, that they got.
Yeah, Bert Jarvis used to swim there when he did all that walking.
Yeah.
He used to stop there on hot days and take a dive and cool off, and then he'd keep on going again.
Yeah, I don't know
By
how
himself
deep,
down there in that pit, you know.
I don't know how deep that is there, but it's a pretty good size, you know, hole that they got there.
Yeah.
So that was the 50s, eh?
Yeah.
I know there's still some ore left there that they know of, you know, from drilling and stuff, but eventually they may mine it if Evelyn Tack has to go across the road. You know, they may take out by the Burns and between the Burns and the Genoa, there's a spot in there that has ore yet. So at some point there is some, you know, mineable ore left in that area back there. You know.
Well,
if
I
they
was
need
on
to
that
get it.
Auburn mine, remember?
The Auburn, yeah.
And that was the last of the ore there.
Right, the natural ore, yeah.
Yeah, boy.
Mm-hmm.
You know where I got hurt there?
Yeah,
Oh, what a lie that was.
yeah.
I got hurt there, and they loaded my truck too much in the back, and it shifted automatically, and it come over backwards.
Oh, jeez.
And I locked all the brakes down so it wouldn't roll away. I practiced this because it was steep banks, and it didn't move. You know, brakes are made to hold frontwards, not backwards, man. I locked them up and they didn't move. It stayed there. Then it was up. I was looking at the sky, and then it fell over sideways, over a 10-foot bank, and I could still right now I could still picture that dirt coming at me. I could, you know, the dirt was coming at me. You know, when I went over that bank.
Was your window open? Was your window open?
Yeah.
What year was this?
That was like 85 maybe?
When you
90?
and I were done with the blacktop.
Yeah. 89 maybe? 90?
Oh, no, 90.
92?
90, wait a minute. I started there in 94.
Okay, 94 then, yeah.
So this was probably...
And he's talking the Auburn Mine is kind of by Super One now, you know, where Super One grocery store is.
Mm-hmm.
Just those dumps that are there, the Auburn Mine was right in that area there.
And if I didn't stop, I would have went down over a 200-foot bank in the water.
Oof.
And then I asked those guys. I said, is anybody going to look at me? They said, yeah. You see your dog paddling with one hand, like this.
Yeah.
And then the ambulance come and took me there. And then there was scuba come in there a couple hours later, and in the emergency room, and I was still on the board. Bruce come in and said, what the hell is this kind of an emergency room is this? Well, they say they got a special doctor for workman's comp.
Oh, they're right there waiting for
Yeah,
you.
yeah, and then they said they have to wait for him to come to work on me. And I told him, I said, well, at least release my legs. I said, I have crazy legs. I got to be moving them all the time, even in bed. When I go to sleep, I move my legs all the time. And I told him, I got to move my legs. And no, you might be hurt internally. I told that nurse, I said, if I was hurt internally, I'd be dead. Yeah, they wouldn't let me release. They wouldn't release my legs. And boy, I was miserable on that goddamn board for many hours because it was dark already. And this was in the afternoon.
Jeez.
Doggone it, And what they told it, I saw the report go to the Union Hall. It says that I shifted down and on a steep grade. I missed the gear, and went backwards down the hill. It said and it was an automatic transmission.
They're trying to cover themselves. Yeah.
Yeah, it was automatic transmission. It
Blame it
shifts
on you,
automatically.
yeah. Mm.
Or I missed the clutch. He said my foot slipped off the clutch. That's what they said. And I missed the gear and I rolled backwards. And that went to OSHA.
Yeah.
Or they call it MSHA.
Yeah.
And then I called MSHA on it too. I called them on it. That's the wrong way. But they got their own way to run around it. To talk around it, under the table.
Yeah.
That's what it was. Because otherwise the insurance policy goes up high for companies.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I could see lots of things when I know all about hospitals even.
Is that Lenny that came or what?
Yeah, Lyle probably.
Oh, well, I suppose, I think we got pretty much, on your memory on the Genoa pits, and I'm gonna bring Mike to behind the pit there and show him what we were talking about it.
Yeah.
With my four-wheeler, I'll take a ride back there.
Yeah, you go up on a high point, the high dump up there.
Yeah, I could go on the high dump and really show him that one.
Yeah, and then you can see the whole lake up there too.
Oh, it's a beautiful view up there of the lake
Yeah,
and the whole surrounding.
the trees are growing up there, and I said, yes, you go to a chainsaw and cut all those trees
You
down.
should, just for a lookout, yeah. 'Cause
Yeah,
it's
so
nice.
you got to see the whole lake. You see the whole lake.
Yeah, it's beautiful up there. I'll have to bring you up
that's
there when I
nice.
bring you.
Yeah. And then that picture in that book, you'll see where there was a reef out there. And they had trees on in the old days there, but there you can't see them now. But it's just no trees, but it's only that deep,
Mm-hmm.
water. They're right in the middle of the open water,
No.
My wife went through there. She wanted to drive the boat back. She went through there and knocked one prop off, one blade off the propeller.
So was the lake lower back then? Was the lake lower at one point, Ely Lake?
It had to be.
Yeah.
They probably put the plank up there,
They
to
must
get
have
to
dammed it up to raise the level.
They put a couple of planks up there
Right.
to bring the level up.
Mm-hmm.
Because the people probably wanted it up to the shoreline instead of out a little bit,
Right, I suppose for boats.
And what year was that when all that water went out of there? Remember that?
Out of the pit?
Yeah, no, out of the lake.
Oh, I don't remember.
Oh, half the bay was empty.
Oh, really?
Oh, that would have been a
really
time
drained it.
we got about that much muck on the bottom of the lake. Because in the summertime it comes from all over the lake, the leaves and
Right.
corn cobs or whatever's in the lake, And the water went down. There was a dry spell there. Holy mackerel, way out there. And Alphonse Sorry, he gained about 100 feet of lakeshore.
Yeah.
Went out into the water, for the water,
Mm-hmm.
and the water too. And Lenny was just a little guy at that time. and going over there, and he was trying to crawl across there because the elephants would chase him out of there.
Oh, is
And
that right?
he's walking where the water was.
Wow.
And they get off my property,
No.
And my dad had his place across the lake, and he was always, "Lady, get him, stand up and walk like a man. He better not touch you." My dad hollered from his side of the lake,
Yeah.
from his side of that bay.
Yeah, I don't remember when that water was that low.
Oh, that would have been a time to get all the muck out of there, boy. But,
Yeah.
but then just like Rat Hall there, when he put his dock in, he went with his backhoe and he fixed up the shoreline so he could put a dock in there. And the game warden, a woman game warden, had seen it from the air. He had a backhoe there, and then she stopped at his house and she chewed him out. She says, "Think how many frogs and turtles you killed when you dug that up." And he said, "I'm gonna find you double." And then he was all pissed off. He was gonna get fined double. And I says, we come holding this water, my nose runs all the time, and never used to. And I'm gonna find you double. And I said, "Well, how much was one?" He said, $75. Oh, I says, "Well, be happy you got your place dug out for
Yeah.
150 bucks.
Really?
I says,
Yeah.
"What's the big deal?"
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I says, "You're lucky it was only that. It could have been a few thousand."
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
I said, "Heck, Sam, 150 bucks means nothing, and then you got it dug out."
Mm-hmm.
A lot more now.
Oof,
Yeah, it would have been holy
Yeah.
mackerel.
He'd be in jail now.
And John Neve, the old man that used to live next door here, he said that old guy that was living here before when he died when I bought this place, he raked a lot of it by the shoreline there, and it was all beach sand under
Oh.
there. Yeah, it was all beach sand. But this bay and every bay down the line on Difference Point down there, he's got muck like this.
Yeah, I know the muck.
All the stuff that goes on their shore too. We got it in our bay, and all those bays that are like this, they're all with that heavy muck from the whole lake.
Right.
Mm.
Yeah.
Summertime, the waves come from the west.
Yeah.
Prevailing winds, from the west.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and
Well, there, it's good. Been talking to you. And,
it's good to have some company once in a while.
All right. Yeah. And you said that was Lyle that was here. He's probably waiting for us to leave. So.
Oh, they got
Yeah.
their guns out. They're just sitting outside. They're
Oh,
probably,
yeah.
Lyle quit smoking.
Oh, did he? Yeah.
Yeah, he quit smoking.
Mm.